Welcome to Riverfront Park alongside the Spokane River. Tom Gelehrter happy to be alongside the voice of the Bearcats, Dan Hoard, in the great Northwest as Cincinnati arrived to the state of Washington last evening. We're now just under 48 hours from the Bearcats' second-round NCAA tournament game against the Harvard Crimson. Normally, teams would be arriving right about now, but Dan McCronin made a decision late Sunday night after finding out not only the location, but the early game time on Thursday that he wanted his team here Monday night.
Easy to do since the students are on spring break right now, so it wasn't an academic concern. And Cincinnati wasn't the only team to do it. Harvard arrived yesterday. Michigan State arrived yesterday. So teams that had a long way to travel out west, particularly with the early start times on Thursday, hit the road early.
On Harvard coming from Boston, they arrived yesterday as well, having a little bit even longer trip than the Bearcats did. Initial reactions on the Crimson. Of course, we know that our president, Santa Ono, has ties to Harvard and obviously the great academic standards that they have. But what have you learned in doing your research?
Well, for one thing, this is a very deep team. They had 6 players named All-Ivy this year, 1 on the first team, 3, I believe, on the second team, and a couple honorable mentions. So they've got a lot of good players. It's a team that went 26-4, and it's a team that had NCAA tournament success 1 year ago. As a 14 seed last year, they knocked off New Mexico when New Mexico was ranked 10th in the country. It's the first NCAA tournament win in Harvard history. So they don't have much of a history of advancing in the NCAA tournament. They're trying to do it 2 years in a row.
Now, of course, the Bearcats won one and then lost one in Memphis. Disappointed on Friday night that they didn't play in the championship on Saturday, but McCronin saw maybe a little bit of an advantage in getting his guys some extra rest back to Cincinnati and refocused.
One of the interesting things I found after that game against UConn was Mick Cronin in the locker room afterward told his players he would not stop talking until their mood improved. He did not want them to be depressed after the UConn game because he said, let's face it, you'd love to win a conference tournament, but what really matters is the NCAA tournament. So he stressed, don't get too upset about losing to UConn, try to learn from it, and let's see how far we can go in March Madness.
Well, we will have tons of coverage of March Madness for you here on Bearcats TV from Spokane, Washington throughout the week, and as long as the Bearcats are playing. Tomorrow is the Bearcats' first press conference here in Spokane, and we'll have lots of coverage of that, and then maybe we'll get in a gondola here before too long. We'll find Chuck, and I'm sure Dan will have lots to talk about.
Sounds good to me.
All right, that is Dan Hoard, the voice of the Bearcats. I am Tom Gelehrter in Spokane, Washington, where we begin our coverage of the NCAA tournament on GoBearcats.com.